It is Wednesday, May 7th, and President Trump getting a bit ticked off after the DOJ is 10 weeks past their deadline to release the Epstein files. What is taking so long? Well, we have some information we're going to show you. Also, Scott Bessent being grilled today in front of Congress, but making fools out of the Dems. This guy really is turning out to be a rock star, and the Federal Reserve making a decision on rate cuts, rejecting Trump's request to cut rates. We're going to show you that and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So the DOJ, under the leadership of Pam Bondi, AG Pam Bondi, now 10 weeks past her deadline to release the full slew of Epstein files. We were promised complete transparency in this case. We were promised by Pam Bondi, we were promised by Kash Patel, both of whom we supported fully for their confirmations on this channel. Kash Patel specifically. On February 26th, AG Pam Bondi went on Fox News and stated unequivocally, all the Epstein files should be released tomorrow. That's what she said, meaning February 27th. And instead of all the files, what we got was that very lame release in which the DOJ hands out these binders called Phase 1 binders to a group of influencers that contained nothing new, absolutely nothing, just old recycled files that had been made public years earlier from the case out of New York. And yes, she cited privacy concerns and said that they would have to redact names of victims, etc. But her team, she said, is reviewing the files and they should be released tomorrow. Again, 10 weeks ago. Well, she's now on the defensive. The MAGA base has been on her case for weeks on what's exactly taking her so long. Something just doesn't smell right about this. Then last week, President Trump was asked personally during an Oval Office presser, "Where are these files, President Trump? We were promised their release. What the hell is taking so long?" Watch.
So when can we expect the Epstein documents to be released? The rest of them?
Which documents?
The Epstein files?
I don't know. I'll speak to the Attorney General about that. I really don't know. I know that we've done the RFK. The Kennedy, Martin Luther King is out there very shortly, so we'll find out. But we've really announced we're doing them in full transparency. You know, when we did JFK, people were saying, "Oh, maybe it wasn't all; it was all." And people actually went up to the office and they looked at some things that were, not really easily available, and they were amazed that we gave it all. And I don't know if it solved any problems for people. People still have questions one way or the other, but that I'm not. But 100% of all of these documents are being delivered.
Well, this morning, Pam Bondi cornered into taking questions about this, and she said the FBI is still reviewing everything and revealing something new, that there are apparently tens of thousands of videos of Epstein, videos that they're reviewing, something we all suspected but never knew for sure. Why we didn't know that, I have no idea. Why we're only getting confirmation about that now, I have no clue. We saw the photos from his island, and in those original FBI photos, there were what looked like a whole slew of videos, but they never confirmed that he was on those videos. Well, watch what she had to say this morning. Watch this.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. Can you confirm the status of them? I still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement, but I'll call him later and find out.
Pam Bondi saying the FBI is diligently going through that. The sheer volume of evidence is just overwhelming, she says, and is the reason more files have yet to be released. Coincidentally, though, this morning's presser was about the arrest that they just made. Her office with the FBI arresting over 200 alleged predators as part of their operation called Restore Justice. Here's Kash Patel about this specific op this morning. Watch what he had to say.
They don't take breaks because our children deserve a free and open society. I also want to just take a moment to emphasize the priority of this Department of Justice and this FBI. Our children. If you harm our children, you will be given no sanctuary. There is no place we will not come to hunt you down. There is no place we will not look for you. And there is no cage we will not put you in should you do harm to our children. The prioritization of this administration and General Bondi has made it abundantly clear to child predators, you will be hunted down and you will be prosecuted. And that is a refreshing thing to hear for the men and women who do this work tirelessly. And it's also an acknowledgement of the safety that we look forward to bringing America.
Obviously, all good, noble work, but a promise is a promise. We have countless clips of both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi criticizing this cover-up over the last administration, promising to release everything on day one. So what's the deal? If there are ties with U.S. intel like CIA or whomever, tell us, be straight with us. The longer you don't, it just looks more and more fishy. In another story, former President Joe Biden breaking his silence for the first time since leaving the White House in January, holding his first sit-down interview with the BBC, in which he admits Trump was always going to win the election. He and Kamala both, he said, had no chance of beating Donald Trump. The entire interview, just brutal. How in the world Dems let this guy lead their party for as long as they did, I have no idea. Watch this.
I can hear your passion. I can hear your anxiety that the world is changing the way it has. And for a long time you believed, you said, I'm the man who can stop Donald Trump. And you did once. And in the end, you withdrew from that election campaign at the last minute. It's a question lots of people ask you, Mr. President. Did you leave it too late? Should you have withdrawn earlier, given someone else a bigger chance?
I don't think it would have mattered. We left at a time when we had a good candidate. She was fully funded. And what happened was, I had become what we had set out to do. No one thought we could do. And become so successful on our agenda, it was hard to say, no, I'm going to stop now. I meant what I said when I started, that I think I'm prepared to hand this to the next generation. It's a transition government. But things move so quickly that it made it difficult to walk away, it was a hard decision, but
regrets though?
No, I think it was the right decision. I think that it was just a difficult decision.
And what's crazy is there are actually people out there who would have voted for Joe, even in his current state, just because he's not Donald Trump. Unbelievable. In another story, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent being grilled this morning in front of Congress. Democrats using their time trying to score cheap political points, but it didn't work so well. Watch Gregory Meeks having a meltdown after Scott Bessent trolling him over Joe Biden's poor mental state. Watch this.
4 decades? We've had trade deficits in the United States of America, and nobody said it was an emergency? Democratic and Republican presidents? You know what that says to me? That it's not an emergency because it hasn't been for 4 decades. It says to me that we should bring tariffs back to the United States Congress so that we can make that determination as the Constitution has said and not try to go around Congress. That's just unbelievable to me. Let me ask this question. Maybe they missed it. Who was the president And who has been the president since January 20th, 2025?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay. And who was the president in 2024?
One believes President Biden.
One believes? Are you one of those non-believers that the election, the American people didn't vote?
I am not.
You're not? You said one believes? Do you believe in the Constitution of the United States and it should be abided by?
I believe in the Constitution of the United States.
So you believe in it without any second thought. You don't have to think about it. You believe in it and you would abide by it. Is that correct?
I have and I do, sir.
Okay. But do you know that a president has said he may or may not? He don't know? Let me ask this question. I couldn't believe
And what's sad is Scott Bessent's probably the most qualified Treasury Secretary we've had in modern history. He's turning out to be a rock star. This is the same guy who engineered the complete meltdown of the British pound back in the 90s. He's a cutthroat businessman who believes in Trump's agenda, getting the people's work done. Such a huge improvement over Janet Yellen. Meanwhile, over at the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell met this morning with his fellow reserve presidents, holding their FOMC meeting and deciding not to cut rates. Even after all the pressure Trump's put on Powell, he is not backing down, rejecting Trump's call to cut rates and warning of increased stagflationary uncertainty. That's what he said, using the rationale that a lot's happened since Liberation Day. All other central banks, though, all around the world have acted after Liberation Day. China's PBOC, for instance, in the last few weeks has cut key rates, injected $1 trillion in yuan after agreeing to start trade talks with the U.S., doing so to give the CCP some leverage in their negotiations with Scott Bessent and the U.S. delegation. The Fed, though, our central bank, doing absolutely nothing. In another story, Ed Martin, Trump's nominee to be D.C.'s next attorney general, is being stonewalled in the Senate. One Republican, that's it, one Republican refusing to vote yes on his confirmation. That's all it took. Who is that one Republican? Tom Tillis, which is very odd. It almost seems like Tom Tillis is protecting certain Democrats for some reason, Adam Schiff in particular, and other Democrats who've been operating in this gray area for the last 8 years. Here was Trump this morning when asked, why in the world is Tom Tillis blocking Ed Martin's confirmation? Why is that happening? Watch.
Mr. President, Senator Tillis has come out against Ed Martin as U.S. Attorney. Do you have any response to that?
Well, it's disappointing because, I know Eddie's very talented. Crime is down in Washington, D.C. Street crime, violent crime by 25%. And it's people have seen, they've noticed a big difference. So I didn't know that. But if anybody voted against him, I feel very badly about it, only in the sense that in this short period of time that he's been there, crime is down 25% in Washington, D.C. But that's really up to the senators. If they feel that way, they have to vote the way they vote. They have to follow their heart, and they have to follow their mind.
Ed Martin has vowed to hold Democrats accountable who break the law, including Democrats like Adam Schiff. And when you have corporate media and Dems all lining up now defending Tom Tillis for standing up to Trump, defending a Republican, there's more to the story here. What's the deal here, Tom? Even Chris Hayes over on MSNBC seeming very relieved about this, at the potential of Ed Martin not getting confirmed. And look, DC's a complete cesspool, made up majority Democrat, all types of shady stuff taking place there. You need an attorney general down there in DC who will hold these people accountable. So again, why, Senator Tillis, are you protecting Adam Schiff and other Dems like him here? All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.